Hi, I'm Mike McCormick, live from GBTA Studios here in Toronto, and I'm here with Matthew Patterson, Vice President of Client Relationship Management for Advito. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk hotel, shall we?
Let's do it.
I guess some general questions about, kind of state of the marketplace right now. What are you seeing? Well, maybe let's start there. Where do you see the opportunities now in hotel buying? What's the marketplace looking like right now?
It's turning into a very complicated market.
Right.
What's going on with hotel, I liken it very much to what happened with airline after deregulation.
Got it.
Multiple price points, maybe dynamic discounts off of multiple price points. From a sourcing perspective, you still need to have your annual sourcing event, lock in rates with your high volume properties, but it's just becoming much more complicated. It's not really a set it and let it go environment anymore, whereas 10 years ago it was.
Right. Yeah, interesting, like you say that. And when you're in a buyer, on one hand, I think certainly dynamic pricing represents a really attractive, solution, right? In terms of being able to have flexible rates, really take advantage. But at the same time, maybe, I hear the concerns, the fear is I'm not going to get as good a deal as I had in the past. So how should buyers address that?
Well, it's kind of the classic conundrum. Yeah, if you can cover as much as you can with a flat rate, you're better off.
Right.
But hoteliers typically aren't interested in talking to you unless you're going to give them 200, 300, 400 room nights a year.
Right.
So when you think about clients' tail spend, a lot of times 50, 60% of their spend is going to be in markets where there's less than maybe 200 or 100 room nights.
Thin. Yeah.
So the game, at least from a sourcing perspective, is capturing as much as you can from a static perspective, but then capturing as much as you can on the tail spend as well with maybe perhaps a dynamic rate. A lot of clients don't qualify for chain wides anymore just because they're not big enough. Some of the smaller hotelier chains will offer chain wides, so it's a bit of a mix.
Has even though the big brands seem to have amassed all of these sub-brands under their umbrella, does that add more complexity to the market? Because you've got all these unique, kind of very niche brands that have been developed now.
The complexity is really just in the volume of what you're putting your arms around. I actually think it provides a lot of opportunity. The fact that you're actually consolidating, or hoteliers are consolidating things into one umbrella, I actually think that makes it easier for travel managers.
Got it. Okay. But it's just a matter of then, making sure you really know your data and know what which is another big issue, right?
Data has become really the kingpin, whether you're talking about hotel, talking about air. If you're capturing data correctly, you're not going to just take your travel management company spend, you're going to take your expense spend, you're going to take supplier spend, and then at that point, you've got a much better picture on really how you should be negotiating.
Well, yeah, because the booking source matters less, or not at all, really, as long as you're capturing 100%, or as close as you can to all the data out there.
Correct.
Yep, and then understanding where you truly are spending and why, right?
True.
Yep. And so, what in terms of your average company's hotel program, what is being neglected? Like, where are the biggest opportunities today for buyers?
My answer to that is actually not in the sourcing space. It's in what I would call branding and communication and marketing of your program. I'm liking that it's kind of the new sweet spot with the corporate travel program. It's how you are actually, what we're calling traveler engagement, how you're getting your travelers to understand what you've negotiated for them, guiding them to make the correct buying behaviors, and then, but underneath all that, branding your program, and how are you communicating internally, what are the messages you're sending out internally. It's one thing to negotiate and have this fantastic program in place, but if travelers aren't aware of it and don't know what the right decision is, you could, in some ways it's lost its utility.
Right. Interesting. Any other words of advice for buyers?
I think for the time being, it's still going to be an annual sourcing event.
Right.
If I could write it my way, and this is just my my desire, I think it would be great. Anytime in the next 5 to 10 years to actually move away from the annual sourcing event. It's very labor intensive. Yep. The returns are much lower. I think from a program management perspective, it's a much better value proposition to actually be looking at your program dynamically, month after month, looking for spot opportunities, et cetera.
It's just getting through the basically the trust part of the equation, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. And it feels like we're on the cusp. It's like getting there, and maybe not quite yet to critical mass.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
totally agree.
Well, thank you, Matthew, for coming
Thanks
in.
for your
Thanks
time.
for your insight.
Yeah,
and I'm Mike McCormick, live from GBTA Studios here in Toronto.